There is a power available to every believer that many have overlooked, not because it is hidden, but because it is often underestimated. It is not found in human strength, nor in intellectual ability, but in something far more accessible: the words you speak. Every day, doors stand before you, doors of opportunity, doors of healing, doors of provision, and doors of breakthrough. Yet many remain closed, not because they are locked forever, but because the right key has not been used. What if just a few minutes of speaking the right words, words of faith, words aligned with truth, could begin to shift your situation? What if the answer you've been waiting for is already within your reach, waiting to be released through your mouth? In the next few moments, you will discover how speaking the word in faith can begin to open doors that no man can shut. The power of spoken faith is one of the most overlooked yet life-altering truths a believer can walk in, because it takes what is invisible and begins to give it form, direction, and movement. Faith was never designed to remain silent or hidden within the heart alone. It was meant to be released, expressed, and activated through words. There is something that happens when faith moves from your spirit to your lips. It transitions from being a belief to becoming a force. Many people say they believe, but their words tell a different story. True faith is not just what you think or feel internally. It is what you consistently declare, even when everything around you suggests the opposite. When pressure rises, when circumstances tighten, when answers seem delayed, that is the very moment when spoken faith must rise higher. Because faith does not deny reality, but it declares a greater reality. Words are not casual in the realm of the Spirit. They are containers. They carry what is inside you. If fear is inside, fear will come out. If doubt is inside, doubt will speak. But if faith is planted deeply within your heart, then faith will begin to speak with authority, even when your emotions are unsettled. And when faith speaks, it does not speak timidly or uncertainly. It speaks as though the answer is already secured. There is a creative dimension to spoken faith. Just as everything that exists was brought into being through words, your life begins to follow the direction of what you continually say. This is why careless words can hold you back, and intentional words can move you forward. Every declaration is setting a course. Every confession is reinforcing a direction. You are, in many ways, prophesying your own future by what you repeatedly speak. It is not about repeating empty phrases or memorized lines without understanding. Spoken faith is alive because it is rooted in conviction. It comes from a place of knowing, not guessing. When you speak from that place, your words carry weight. They are not just sounds, they are expressions of trust in something higher than what your eyes can see. And that is what begins to shift atmospheres, change outcomes, and open possibilities that once seemed unreachable. There will be moments when speaking faith feels unnatural, especially when everything around you appears to contradict what you are saying. But that is where the true power lies, not in speaking when it is easy, but in speaking when it requires you to rise above what you feel. Because faith does not wait for evidence before it speaks in order to produce the evidence. And as you begin to consistently release words of faith, something begins to change within you before it ever changes around you. Your thinking starts to align. Your expectations begin to rise. Your focus shifts from problems to possibilities. You begin to see differently, believe differently, and ultimately live differently because your words are training your spirit to stand firm. This is not about trying to control outcomes through human effort, but about aligning yourself with a higher truth and allowing that truth to flow through your words. When that alignment happens, your voice becomes more than just a natural expression. It becomes a channel through which faith is released into every situation you face. Words are not merely sounds formed by the tongue. They are spiritual keys designed to unlock doors that cannot be opened by effort alone. Every door in life, whether it leads to opportunity, healing, restoration, provision, or direction, responds to something greater than human striving. It responds to alignment, and that alignment is often released through what you say. Many people spend their lives pushing on doors that will not move, trying harder, working longer, and exhausting themselves, not realizing that the issue is not the door's resistance, but the absence of the right key. In the realm of the spirit, words become those keys. When your words are shaped by fear, doubt, or uncertainty, they do not unlock anything, they reinforce the closed state. But when your words are shaped by truth and spoken with conviction, they begin to engage what is unseen and cause shifts that cannot be explained naturally. A key must match the lock it is intended for, and in the same way, your words must match the promise you are believing for. You cannot speak contradiction and expect access. If the door represents peace, your words must carry peace. If the door represents provision, your words must reflect trust and abundance rather than lack. It is not enough to desire the door to open. Your confession must be in agreement with what stands behind it. There is also a timing element to keys. A key is only effective when it is used. Many have the right promises, the right understanding, even the right intentions, but they keep the key in their pocket. They think silently, they hope internally, but they do not release it through their mouth. And because it is not spoken, it is not activated. The moment words are released in faith, it is like inserting the key into the lock. Something begins to turn, even if the door has not visibly opened yet. Sometimes the door does not open instantly, and that is where consistency becomes essential. Turning a key is not always a 1-second action in the spiritual sense. It can require persistence. You speak again and again and again, not out of desperation, but out of assurance. Each declaration is another turn, another alignment, another reinforcement that what you are declaring is greater than what you are seeing. Over time, resistance gives way, and what once seemed sealed begins to respond. There are also doors that no person can open for you. No connection, no influence, no strategy can force them open. These are doors reserved for alignment with something higher, and they respond only to the right kind of key. When your words begin to align with truth and authority, you step into a dimension where what could not be accessed through effort becomes accessible through agreement. At the same time, words can also lock doors. Speaking limitation, repeating failure, declaring defeat, these do not just describe your situation, they reinforce it. It is like taking the key and turning it in the opposite direction, tightening what you are hoping will be released. This is why awareness matters. Every word is doing something, either opening or closing, either aligning or resisting. When you begin to understand this, you become more intentional. You stop speaking casually about serious matters. You stop echoing what you see and start declaring what you believe. Your words become deliberate, focused, and filled with purpose. You recognize that you are not just talking, you are engaging with the very mechanisms that determine whether doors remain shut or begin to open. And as this awareness grows, you start to see doors differently. They are no longer barriers meant to stop you, but opportunities waiting for the right key. Instead of frustration, there is expectation. Instead of silence, there is declaration. You approach every situation knowing that what you carry in your words has the ability to engage, unlock, and shift what once stood firmly closed. There is an authority that has been entrusted to every believer, and it does not come from personal strength, status, or achievement. It comes from alignment with the Word. This authority is not something you earn over time through effort. It is something you step into through understanding. Many live their lives unaware of it, speaking as though they are powerless, reacting to circumstances instead of addressing them, not realizing they have been given the right to stand, to declare, and to shift what stands before them. Authority begins with recognition. If you do not know you have it, you will never use it. You will continue to tolerate things you were meant to confront. You will accept conditions you were meant to change. You will speak like a victim in situations where you were designed to speak as one who has been given dominion. And this is where many remain stuck, not because authority is absent, but because it is unrecognized. This authority is directly connected to the Word. It is not based on feelings, and it does not fluctuate with circumstances. Whether the situation looks favorable or impossible, the authority remains the same. But it is activated when your words come into agreement with what has already been established. When you speak in alignment with the Word, you are not speaking on your own behalf. You are speaking from a higher position, carrying a weight that is not dependent on human reasoning. Too often, people speak from their situation instead of speaking to it. They describe what is happening in detail, reinforcing it with every word, giving it more presence, more influence, and more permanence. But authority does not operate by observation. It operates by declaration. It does not echo the problem, it addresses it. It does not submit to circumstances, it speaks over them with confidence and clarity. There is a difference between asking and declaring. There are moments to ask, but there are also moments to stand and speak with authority. When you understand what has already been provided, what has already been spoken, and what has already been made available, your language begins to change. You move from uncertainty to confidence, from hesitation to boldness. You no longer speak as though you are trying to convince something to happen. You speak as one who knows what has been established and is bringing it into alignment. Authority also requires responsibility. It is not about speaking carelessly or trying to control outcomes through repetition alone. It is about speaking with awareness, intention, and alignment. Your words must be rooted in truth, not driven by emotion alone. When emotions rise, it becomes even more important to remain grounded, because authority is most effective when it is steady, not reactive. There will be resistance. There will be moments when it feels like nothing is changing, when your words seem to fall into silence, when circumstances appear unmoved. But authority is not measured by immediate visible results. It is exercised by consistency. You continue to speak, not because you see change, but because you understand your position. Each declaration is a reinforcement of that position, a refusal to step back into passivity. As you begin to walk in this authority, your mindset shifts. You stop seeing yourself as subject to everything around you and begin to recognize that you have been given a voice that carries weight. You become more deliberate, more focused, more aware of what you say and how you say it. Situations that once intimidated you begin to look different, not because they have changed yet, but because you have. And in that place, your words are no longer casual reactions. They become expressions of authority, grounded in something unshakable, released with confidence, and directed with purpose toward everything that stands in front of you. Aligning your confession with God's promises is not simply about positive speech or repeating encouraging phrases. It is about bringing your words into agreement with something that has already been established as truth. There is a difference between speaking what you hope might happen and speaking what has already been declared. One is uncertain and shifting, while the other is anchored and unmovable. When your confession aligns with the promise, your words begin to carry a different kind of weight, steady, confident, and rooted in something beyond your circumstances. Many people struggle not because they lack desire, but because their words are out of alignment. They believe one thing in their heart, but say something entirely different with their mouth. They may say they trust, but their words are filled with doubt. They may say they expect change, but their daily language reinforces delay and limitation. This inner conflict creates a kind of resistance, where what they are saying cancels out what they are believing. Alignment removes that resistance and allows your words to flow in one clear direction. Promises are not activated by awareness alone, they are activated through agreement. Agreement is not silent, it is expressed, it is spoken. When you begin to confess in alignment with what has already been promised, you are essentially declaring that you accept it as truth, even before you see it. This kind of confession does not wait for evidence. It produces the environment where evidence can appear. It sets the tone for what you expect, what you receive, and what you continue to believe. There will always be a temptation to speak based on what is visible. Circumstances have a voice, and often it is loud, persistent, and convincing. It will tell you what is not working, what is missing, what is delayed. And if you are not intentional, your words will begin to echo that voice. But alignment requires a different response. It requires that you speak from the promise, not from the pressure. That you choose words that reflect truth rather than words that mirror temporary conditions. This does not mean ignoring reality or pretending challenges do not exist. It means choosing which reality has the final authority in your life. When your confession is aligned, you acknowledge what is happening, but you do not let it define what you declare. Your words become anchored in something higher, something constant, something that does not shift with every circumstance. Consistency plays a vital role in alignment. It is not enough to speak correctly once and then return to old patterns. Alignment is built through repetition, through daily reinforcement, through a continual decision to speak in agreement no matter what the day brings. Over time, this consistency begins to shape your thinking, influence your expectations, and strengthen your confidence. What once felt unnatural begins to feel normal. What once required effort begins to flow more easily. As this alignment deepens, something begins to change within you. Your focus shifts away from uncertainty and toward assurance. You begin to expect what you are declaring, not because you are forcing belief, but because your words are continually reinforcing it. Your confession becomes a steady stream, not interrupted by fear or doubt, but guided by clarity and conviction. There is also a refining process that happens. You become more aware of the words you allow yourself to speak. You begin to notice when something is out of alignment, when a statement contradicts what you truly believe, when a phrase carries doubt instead of trust, and instead of letting it pass, you correct it. You bring it back into alignment. You choose again to speak in agreement. In this place, your words are no longer reactive or careless. They become intentional expressions of what you have chosen to stand on. They carry a sense of direction, a sense of purpose, and a sense of confidence that does not depend on immediate results. You are not just talking, you are aligning, agreeing, and establishing a pattern of speech that continually points your life toward what has already been promised. Speaking in faith when circumstances oppose you is where the true depth of your belief is revealed, because it is easy to speak when everything looks favorable, but it requires a different level of conviction to speak when everything around you is saying the opposite. This is the point where many begin to waver, not because they lack faith entirely, but because they allow what they see to carry more weight than what they believe. The pressure of circumstances can feel overwhelming, and without awareness, it begins to shape your words, turning confidence into hesitation and expectation into doubt. Opposition has a voice. It speaks through delays, through setbacks, through visible evidence that seems to contradict what you are trusting for. It presents itself in a way that feels real, immediate, and undeniable. And if you are not careful, you will begin to echo it. You will start describing the problem in detail, reinforcing it with every sentence, giving it more presence in your life than it deserves. But faith does not grow by repeating the problem. It grows by declaring something greater in the face of it. There is a discipline involved in choosing your words when circumstances are pressing against you. It is not about ignoring what is happening, but about deciding what you will give your agreement to. Every word you speak is an agreement with something. When you speak fear, you agree with limitation. When you speak doubt, you agree with uncertainty. But when you speak faith, even in the middle of opposition, you align yourself with a higher outcome that is not yet visible. This is where many misunderstand faith. They think it requires them to feel confident all the time, to be unaffected by what is happening around them. But true faith often operates in the presence of tension. It speaks while emotions are unsettled. It declares while questions remain unanswered. It stands firm not because everything makes sense, but because it has chosen what to trust beyond what it can explain. There will be moments when your words feel challenged, when you say something in faith and immediately see something that contradicts it. That moment is critical. It is a decision point. Do you withdraw your words and return to what is visible, or do you continue to stand by what you have spoken? Because faith is not just about what you say once. It is about what you continue to say when there is pressure to change your confession. Consistency in the face of opposition builds strength. Each time you choose to speak in alignment with faith instead of reacting to circumstances, You are reinforcing something within yourself. You are training your mind to stay focused, your spirit to remain steady, and your voice to carry clarity. Over time, this consistency reduces the influence of external pressure. What once felt overwhelming begins to lose its grip because you are no longer feeding it with your words. There is also a separation that begins to take place. You start to distinguish between what is temporary and what is lasting. Circumstances may shift daily, sometimes even hourly, but what you are standing on remains constant. When your words are anchored in that constancy, they do not fluctuate with every change. They remain steady, even when everything else appears unstable. This kind of speaking is not passive. It is active, intentional, and often requires you to rise above your immediate reactions. It means choosing not to say everything you feel. It means pausing before you speak and asking yourself whether your words are aligning with what you believe or simply reflecting what you see. It is a continual process of choosing alignment over reaction, truth over appearance, stability over fluctuation. And as you continue to speak in faith despite opposition, something begins to shift within you that cannot be easily shaken. Your confidence becomes less dependent on visible results and more grounded in what you have chosen to stand on. You become less reactive, more focused, and more aware of the authority carried in your words, even when the circumstances around you have yet to fully respond. Activating change through consistent declarations is not about occasional moments of inspired speech, but about developing a steady, disciplined pattern of words that continually reinforce what you believe, regardless of how you feel in any given moment. Many people speak in faith once or twice and expect immediate transformation. But when nothing appears to shift right away, they fall back into old patterns of speaking. What they do not realize is that inconsistency interrupts the process, breaking the momentum that their words were meant to build. Change, especially the kind that goes beyond the surface, often responds to persistence. Just as repeated thoughts shape your mindset over time, repeated words shape the direction of your life. Every declaration you make is like placing another layer, another reinforcement, another signal that you are aligning yourself with something specific. When those declarations are consistent, they begin to form a pattern that becomes stronger than temporary emotions or fluctuating circumstances. There is a rhythm to consistency. It is not driven by urgency or pressure, but by commitment. You are not speaking because you feel a sudden burst of motivation. You are speaking because you have made a decision about what you believe. This removes the dependency on feelings and replaces it with intentional action. Whether the day feels good or difficult, whether progress is visible or not, your words remain steady. That steadiness is what gives your declaration strength over time. Many underestimate how quickly words can shift direction when they are not guarded. One moment you are speaking in alignment, and the next moment, without realizing it, you are expressing doubt, frustration, or uncertainty. This is why consistency requires awareness. It is not just about speaking the right words occasionally, but about maintaining a flow where your words do not contradict each other. When your declarations remain aligned over time, they begin to build something that cannot easily be undone. Repetition is often misunderstood. Some view it as unnecessary or mechanical, but in reality, repetition is what establishes depth. The first time you say something, it may feel unfamiliar. The second time, it begins to settle. The third time, it starts to take root. Over time, what you repeatedly declare moves from being something you are trying to believe into something you naturally expect. Your words begin to shape your internal world, and your internal world begins to influence how you respond externally. Consistency also strengthens your focus. Instead of being pulled in different directions by every new development, your words keep you anchored. They remind you of what you have chosen to stand on. They redirect your attention when it begins to drift. In a world filled with constant input and changing situations, consistent declarations act as a stabilizing force, bringing you back to clarity again and again. There will be times when consistency feels challenging, when it seems like you are saying the same thing without seeing immediate results. In those moments, it is important to remember that not all change is instantly visible. Some shifts are happening beneath the surface, beyond what you can measure in the moment. Your role is not to control the timing, but to maintain the alignment. Each declaration is contributing to a process that may not be fully revealed yet. Over time, something begins to solidify within you. Your words become less reactive and more deliberate. You stop speaking based on temporary feelings and start speaking from a place of established belief. This creates a sense of stability that carries into every area of your life. Situations that once caused you to waver no longer have the same effect because your declarations have trained you to remain steady. This consistency is not about perfection, but about direction. It is about continually bringing your words back into alignment, even if you momentarily drift. It is about choosing again and again to speak what you believe until it becomes the natural language of your life. And as that language becomes consistent, it begins to activate change in ways that are both internal and external, shaping your perspective, influencing your responses, and setting into motion a pattern that continues to build with every word you release. Living a lifestyle of speaking victory is not about occasional moments of encouragement or bursts of positive speech. It is about developing a continuous flow of words that consistently reflect confidence, authority, and expectation, regardless of the situation. It becomes a way of thinking, a way of responding, and ultimately a way of living where your default language is no longer shaped by defeat, fear, or limitation, but by assurance and alignment with what you believe to be true. For many, speech is reactive. They speak based on what happens, how they feel, or what they see in the moment. If something goes wrong, their words immediately reflect frustration. If delay appears, their words shift toward doubt. If pressure increases, their language becomes heavy with concern. This pattern, repeated over time, creates a cycle where circumstances dictate words, and words, in turn, reinforce those same circumstances. Breaking that cycle requires a deliberate shift, where you no longer allow situations to determine what you say, but instead allow your belief to shape your response. A lifestyle is formed through repetition and habit. It is not built overnight, but through daily choices that gradually become natural. In the same way, speaking victory becomes a lifestyle when you choose, consistently, to align your words with what you stand for rather than what you are facing. At first, it may require effort and awareness. You may catch yourself speaking out of habit and have to correct it. You may notice how quickly your words drift toward what is negative or uncertain. But each time you realign, you are reinforcing a new pattern. This kind of lifestyle requires intentionality. You become more aware of conversations, more mindful of how you describe situations, and more careful about the words you allow yourself to repeat. It is not about denying challenges or pretending everything is perfect, but about refusing to give those challenges the final say in your speech. You acknowledge what is happening, but you do not let it define your declaration. Your words begin to carry a sense of direction, pointing toward what you expect rather than what you fear. Over time, this consistent way of speaking begins to influence how you see everything around you. Your perspective shifts. Instead of focusing on obstacles, you begin to notice opportunities. Instead of expecting setbacks, you begin to anticipate progress. This shift is not forced. It is the natural result of continually speaking in alignment with a higher expectation. Your words are shaping your outlook, and your outlook is shaping how you engage with the world. There is also a strengthening that happens internally. When you live this way, your confidence becomes more stable. It is no longer dependent on external validation or immediate results. You are not easily shaken by temporary setbacks because your words have trained you to remain grounded. Even when challenges arise, your response remains steady, not because you ignore what is happening, but because you have developed a habit of speaking from a place of assurance rather than reaction. This lifestyle also affects how others perceive and respond to you. Words carry influence, and when your language consistently reflects clarity, confidence, and direction, it creates an atmosphere that others can sense. Your conversations begin to carry weight. Your responses become more intentional, Instead of contributing to negativity, you begin to shift the tone of the environments you are part of simply by the way you speak. There will still be moments of pressure, moments where old patterns try to resurface, where it feels easier to fall back into familiar ways of speaking. But a lifestyle is not defined by a single moment. It is defined by the direction you continue to choose. Each time you return to speaking victory, you reinforce the pattern. Each time you choose alignment over reaction, you strengthen the habit. As this becomes more established, your words and your mindset begin to work together seamlessly. You are no longer trying to convince yourself of something. You are expressing what has already become part of you. Speaking victory is no longer something you do occasionally. It becomes the natural language through which you interpret, respond to, and move through every situation you encounter. There is a flow that begins when you understand the power of your words, when you stop speaking casually and start speaking with purpose, alignment, and authority. What once felt like ordinary speech becomes a tool of direction, shaping not only how you see your life, but how your life begins to respond. You are not without influence. You are not without access. You are not without a voice that carries weight. Every word you release is doing something, either reinforcing where you are or moving you toward where you are meant to be. And when your words are rooted in faith, aligned with truth, and spoken consistently, they begin to unlock what once seemed unreachable. Doors do not remain closed forever. Some are waiting for alignment. Some are waiting for persistence. Some are waiting for the moment your words come into agreement with what has already been made available. And when that agreement happens, things begin to shift, sometimes quietly, sometimes suddenly, but always purposefully. This is not about perfection, but about awareness. It is about choosing again and again to let your words reflect what you believe rather than what you fear. It is about standing firm when it would be easier to retreat, speaking clearly when it would be easier to remain silent, and maintaining alignment when it would be easier to react. As you move forward, remember that even a few minutes of focused, intentional, faith-filled speech can begin to change the direction of your day, your thinking, and ultimately your life. What you speak consistently, you begin to see unfold. What you declare with conviction, you begin to expect. And what you align with through your words, you begin to walk into. So speak with intention. Speak with clarity. Speak with confidence. Let your words open doors, shape your path, and carry you forward into everything that has already been set before you